Hello, hello, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing? Oh, what can I say? A lot. What an introduction. First order of business. I need you guys to comment whether you're watching live. There are several hundred of you already watching, which is great. Make sure you've hit the like button. And whether you are watching on replay. Make sure you comment regardless. I want to know that you're all present and accounted for. So we have a lot to discuss. Now, it's a funny story because the other day I was thinking to myself, man, I've been working my ass off, right? I did like 3 broadcasts in 1 week. For press. I did an article and a video for RT. I did, I think, 2 live streams with you guys and a couple interviews. I lost count and I'm done with everything. I'm like, man, I need to relax. And then this fucking piece of shit, Biden, goes and bombs my country, right? Not that I'm the biggest victim here in this story, but like that, he can't even give me a day off, right? He can't even give me a day off. And I was like, man, what am I even going to say that I did not already say a million times? Well, there are developments, but they can't stop, right? They can't stop these people. They're such scum. They're such scum. So, okay, hold on. We have someone spouting anti-Semitic shit, Holocaust denial shit in the comments. We're not tolerating that, so fuck off, okay? Hold on. Put your ass on timeout. Goodbye. So some of you have sent super chats. I appreciate it very much. Thank you for supporting the show. Glenn on Rockfin says, keep it going, Richie. Rock on. I have not watched MSN in a decade. Good. It's good for the brain. I watched my friends' minds melt into Democrat spooch from MSNBC. It's all fucking theater. Thank you. Yes, it's not good for your brain. Literally, there are no critical thinking skills involved. And the same goes for most of cable, right, and mainstream media, unfortunately. And yes, it is very disheartening when you see friends and family who have been sucked into the nonsense, right? But I appreciate your support, and I'm hopefully you can. Enlighten them with some news. So, just let's get set up over here. All right, we got over here from Tunsi, says hello to my Syrian brother from a Tunisian brother. Keep up the amazing work. Ahlan wa sahlan habibi. Yislam an jad. I was happy to see people watching around the world and especially from Arab countries. Ahlan wa sahlan. Really a pleasure. Really a pleasure. So thank you for that. All right, so let's get started, right? Let's get started. Boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. And again, thank you for your patience, as always, right? Thank you for your patience. Okay. So I'm just making sure we all right over here. Are we all right? Wonderful. I got to put on my TV voice, right? So, Joe Biden has bombed Syria again, right? The first strike was in February. One of the first things he does, right? One of his first military actions, he goes and bombs Syria. And now he's bombed Syria again. Right, so on June 28th. And are we surprised? No. Are we disgusted? Yes, as always. I think most people with a brain and with a conscience would be disgusted, but it's especially it's especially upsetting when you see your birthplace, the country you are born in, being turned into into a battleground, into a battlefield by one warmonger after another. So let's go through the details of here so I can break down what happened to you. And then, of course, we'll dive further into that. So just to give you a recap of the situation, okay? So this is June 28th from Sana. okay, 4 members of the Iraqi Popular Mobilization Forces. So that's, you can abbreviate them either as PMF or PMU, right? In Arabic, they're known as Hashd al-Sha'bi. 4 members of the PMF were martyred and 3 others were wounded in an American aerial attack that targeted their positions near Al-Qa'im crossing inside Iraqi territory. So let me just show you where this is. This is on the border between Syria and Iraq, right? This is the cradle of civilization that you're looking at right here. Literally. So this is the border crossing where it happened, right? There's a little town over there. And a security source at the Popular Mobilization Forces told Sana correspondent in Baghdad that the American occupation forces launched an aerial attack in the early hours of this morning, 28th, against positions of the PMF near the Qa'im crossing on the Iraqi-Syrian border, okay? So you had 4 of them killed and 3 others injured. Earlier, Sana's reporter in Dore Zor, so Dore Zor is a province governorate in Syria, right? So we're talking about over here, this area. That warplanes believed to be American attacked residential houses near the Syrian-Iraqi border in Abu Kamal countryside with missiles at about 1 a.m., indicating that the aggression caused, according to the sources, the martyrdom of a child and the injury of 3 civilians, in addition to material damage, right? So the border area with Iraq in the eastern region has been subjected in previous times to more than one attack by the American occupation air force, which works to undermine the efforts to eliminate the remnants of Daesh, ISIS terrorists. Yeah, so this is completely correct. So as we said, what previous attempts are these? Well, Joe Biden himself, right, in February. And, you know, the Americans, for years, right, they've been launching airstrikes in Syria without permission and saying that they're fighting ISIS. Okay, well let's look at this claim that they're fighting ISIS, because they even have a Twitter account, right? It's very funny that you have an occupation, an illegal military occupation with a Twitter account, and it's verified too, right? So what do the Americans say? They say, well, you know, we're protecting Syria's oil, whatever that means. Stealing. You're stealing it. And they say that we're fighting against ISIS, against Daesh. First of all, where does Daesh come from? Who invaded Iraq and created a power vacuum and led to all of these nasty people coming out of the woodwork and taking over? And you had all these bloodbaths for years and years, and then it spills over into Syria, right? So, I mean, at the same time that they're trying to launch regime change against Syria, of course this is going to spill over from Iraq. Of course. Because Iraq itself now is unstable, has a power vacuum, etc. You've taken your hand off the lid, right? You've let all these thugs and various extremists, etc. come out. And, of course, who funded Al-Qaeda? Who created Al-Qaeda in the first place, right? Who was funding the Mujahideen? The Americans. They know all these people, right? Isn't it funny how all these terrorists, Baghdadi, Zarqawi, they've all been in American detention before. They always know who they are. It's so weird, right? They always know these people, and then they just let them out. It's so odd, right? Anyway, they're not fighting ISIS, because when you come and you bomb the PMF, the Popular Mobilization Forces, or the PMU, whatever you want to call them, in Arabic, they're Hashd al-Sha'bi. When you bomb them, you are helping ISIS. You are helping Daesh. Because the ones who actually helped to defeat Daesh and turn it into what it is today, which is, you know, it's nothing compared to a few years ago. If a few years ago you looked at the map of Syria, half of it was black, right? But half of it was under ISIS control. And the ones who helped take back major cities in Iraq and Syria, this is the PMU, the PMF, right? The Hashd al-Sha'bi. But they don't call them that in the Western media. What do they call them? Well, let's take a look what they call them. You already know what's coming, man. You already know. So this is from the Washington Post. U.S. targets Iran-backed militias in Iraq, Syria strikes. They always call them Iran-backed militias, as if these things take their orders from Tehran or something. Look, man, let's get something straight. The PMU are integrated into the Iraqi armed forces officially, right? They're made up mostly of Iraqis. Not Iranians, as the title will have you believe. I can assure you, most people who look at this, they would assume that it's just Iranians running around fighting in Iraq or Syria. And even then, by the way, they have permission to be there, right? So when you hear about Iranian troops, Hezbollah, they have permission to be in Syria because they're there to kick ISIS ass. They're there to kick Al-Qaeda's ass, right, at the invitation of the government. The Americans do not have permission. The British special forces do not have permission. They are there illegally. The Turkish do not have permission. They're occupiers. You understand the difference? So in the media, the Western media, they call them Iran-backed forces, Iran-backed militias, because they can't tell you that the Hashd al-Sha'bi is a resistance movement. It's a resistance coalition. It's a resistance force. Why? Because if you say that, then people would be, well, what are they resisting? And then the answer to that is the fucking Americans and their proxies like Al-Qaeda and ISIS. That's what they're resisting, right? But of course, they can't tell you that. It's just, Iran-backed militias. What does that mean? Why can't you just say their name? Why are you so afraid of saying their name? Just say their name. Why? This is a clear sign. This tells you that the media, in case you weren't aware, the media is a mouthpiece for the state, right? You know how they talk about state media in Arab countries or African countries or Latin American countries that they've targeted for regime change? Oh, look at them. They have state media so authoritarian and totalitarian, blah, blah, blah. This is state media. This is state media. Have you ever seen the Washington Post or the New York Times actually not like a war? Like from the beginning. I don't mean come back 10 years later and say, oopsie, we were wrong. No. Like from the beginning and actually scrutinize the government. You'll never see that because they're really state media, right? So let me show you over here. Let me show you over here this the statement that was released from the DOD, from the Department of Defense, right? So this was read by, it's from John Kirby. Right? Yes, these are all former Obama alumni. So let me read this for you, right? This is June 27th. At President Biden's direction, U.S. military forces earlier this evening conducted defensive precision airstrikes against facilities used by Iran-backed militia groups. Iran-backed militia groups in the Iraq-Syria border region. The targets were selected because these facilities are utilized by Iran-backed militias that are engaged in unmanned aerial vehicle UAV attacks against U.S. personnel and facilities in Iraq. Specifically, the U.S. strikes targeted operational and weapons storage facilities at 2 locations in Syria and 1 location in Iraq. Okay, both of which lie close to the border between those countries. Several Iran-backed militia groups, including Kataib Hezbollah, and by the way, Kataib Hezbollah, do you know? Just this is so important. We already covered how they took down Press TV, right? You see how these things are coinciding? So 1 week, the Biden administration is attacking, as they say, Iran-backed media or Iran media. And what did they say? They say it's controlled by Kataib Hezbollah, 3 of the outlets, and the others are controlled by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and specifically the Quds Force. So according to them, I'm special forces at Press TV. Impressive, right? So just pay attention, right? So just going back to this one, what are they saying here? When in this readout, they're saying, "Oh, look, we targeted these weapons caches and we killed all these militias." But over here, I mean, in Syria, they killed a child. They killed a fucking child and injured 3 civilians. So what is going on here? What is going on here? And in Iraq, right? They martyred. They killed 4 young men from the PMU. Those are, these are resistance fighters. They're from the PMU. Why won't you call them properly by their names? That's so weird, right? And defensive. I mean, defensive. This is the best part, right? This is the best part. So he says here, as demonstrated by this evening's strikes, President Biden has been clear that he will act to protect U.S. personnel. Given the ongoing series of attacks by Iran-backed groups targeting U.S. interests in Iraq, the president directed further military action to disrupt and deter such attacks. Look at this one. We are in Iraq at the invitation of the government of Iraq for the sole purpose of assisting the Iraqi security forces in their efforts to defeat ISIS. No, you're not. No, you're not. After Trump murdered Haj Qasim, so General Soleimani, and Abu Mahdi. Who is Abu Mahdi? He's a commander in the PMU. Right? The same forces here we're talking about. After Trump murdered them, he assassinated them in cold blood in a drone strike. The Iraqi parliament voted to expel all foreign troops who, again, did you forget about 2003? You invaded the fucking country. How are you there at the invitation? No one invited you. You invaded Iraq in 2003, you fucking liar. That was just yesterday. Do you take people for dunces? You're an occupier. You're occupying Iraq illegally. You're not there at anyone's fucking invitation. And just last year, the Iraqi parliament is saying, get out. Get out. And look at this. As a matter of international law, right? Because the United States always respects international law. The United States acted pursuant to its right of self-defense. Self-defense. How the fuck are you on someone else's land, occupying their land for 2 decades, and you claim self-defense? You, motherfucker. Do you see this map? Do you see this map over here? This is the United States over here. This is Syria and this is Iraq. How the fuck are you over here and claiming self-defense? So what is it if you're in the US and you get attacked? What is that? That's self-defense? What is the degree of bullshit here that we're dealing with? How are you over here and claiming self-defense? No. Listen to me, man. The PMU, which you just bombed, they are engaged in self-defense. Do you know why? Because it's their fucking land. Because they're Iraqis. Because you are occupying them and they don't want you in their land. They don't want you anymore. They never wanted you. They are engaged in self-defense. You, an American or a Brit, you cannot be engaged in self-defense. You know why? Because this is not a colony. This is not a territory. This is not a state that belongs to you. This is on the other side of the globe. So do not come here with this horse manure and talk about self-defense. You fucking piece of shit. Look at this now. I want to show you. I want to show you Blinken, right? Secretary of State Blinken, what he says.
With regard to the strike last night, at the President's direction, U.S. military forces conducted airstrikes against facilities used by Iranian-backed militia groups in the Iraq-Syria border region. They targeted facilities used by groups responsible for recent attacks on U.S. interests in Iraq. And given these ongoing attacks that you referred to by Iran-backed groups targeting our interests in Iraq, he directed further military action. We'd taken action previously to disrupt and deter these attacks. We took necessary, appropriate, deliberate action that is designed to limit the risk of escalation, but also to send a clear and unambiguous deterrent message. This action in self-defense to do what's necessary to prevent further attacks.
Bullshit.
I think sends a very important and strong message, and I hope very much that it is received by those who are intended to receive it.
Man, he talks about it like he sent a bouquet of flowers and a box of chocolate. I really hope that it's received by those who,
Mr. President,
were intended to receive it, right? On the receiving end of the thing that they're supposed to receive. He's so tired of bullshitting everyone. Even he is tired of it. Yes, that must be very arduous, an arduous task, right? So once again, with the self-defense nonsense, right? America is always the victim. America is always the victim. Israel is always the victim. Britain is always the victim too, right? The West is always the victim, and everyone else, they're terrorists. They're terrorists. What are you talking about? Of course they're terrorists. We're defending ourselves on your land, right? We're occupying you in self-defense, right? We're stealing your oil in self-defense. Hey, get away. This is self-defense. We're taking the oil. Goodbye. It's self-defense. The fucking stones on these people, like, they got no shame, right? They have no shame after all they've done to the Iraqis. Never mind Syria, right? After all they've done to the Iraqis, they have no shame. They just sit there one after the other, one Secretary of State after the other, one goddamn president after the other, one goddamn defense secretary after the other. Every fucking spokesperson, one after the other, lying their goddamn mouth off. One after the other. Another fucking presidency of bullshit. Another one of bullshit. One after the other. The same crap. Dude, I could give you that text, a transcript of what Blinken just said. You would have no clue who's talking. Is it someone from the Bush era? Is it someone from Obama's administration? I don't know. I don't know. They all sound alike. Copy paste, copy paste. And then here, Joe Biden, of course, right? Because he respects not just international law, as you clearly saw. He also respects domestic law in the United States, right? So pursuant to the War Powers Resolution of 1973, which was, as some of you may recall, a checks and balances that was brought into play by Congress after they were outraged that Nixon was going around behind their back and bombing other countries than Vietnam, right? Because Vietnam was okay, right? But no, you bomb other countries. Oh no, now we need a War Powers Resolution. So Joe Biden, he sends a statement, right, to the Speaker of the House, okay? So what does he say? This is on June 29th, right? He says the same crap that we just read to you, and he cites recent rocket attacks on Balad Air Base, Baghdad Diplomatic Support Center, right? And all of these various incidents as supposed justification, okay? He says, these attacks have injured and threatened the lives of United States and coalition personnel. I directed the June 27 strikes in order to protect and defend the safety of our personnel, to degrade and disrupt the ongoing series of attacks against the United States and our partners, and to deter the Islamic Republic of Iran and Iran-backed militia groups from conducting or supporting further attacks on the United States personnel facilities, right? So again, they're the victim, right? No, we're not going to talk about an occupation. No. We're here to defend the Iraqis. We're fighting ISIS, which we created. We're here to help you, to take your oil. You can't take all that oil for yourself. You need help, right? We're here. We're your friends. Oh, and you see those Iranians? They're the baddies, right? Everyone who's resisting us, they're terrorists. Even the media, right? Even the media, they shut down Press TV and said they're run by the IRGC, by Kata'ib Hezbollah, and that therefore this is counterterrorism to silence foreign media. How the fuck do you sit there and with a straight face and tell me that this is not the goddamn same as George Bush, as Donald Trump, as Obama, as everyone before that? How do you sit there with a straight face and tell me that this is not authoritarianism, that this is fucking insane? So he says here that he's protecting you. Apparently he's protecting you, right? This is about United States national security and foreign policy interests. And someone on Twitter, you'll forgive me, I forgot their name, said, I don't have any damn interest in Iraq. Yeah, no, you don't. He says the United States took this necessary and proportionate action consistent with international law. No, it isn't. And in the exercise of the U.S. inherent right of self-defense as reflected in Article 51 of the United Nations Charter. Okay, once again, I think people are having a little bit of an issue with geography over here. Do you see I have a lovely globe behind me, a globe lamp? Okay, but it's okay. I know it's a bit blurred out, so I'm going to pull up this awesome map over here so you can get the picture. This is the United States, okay, over here on the left, yes, and then here is Syria and Iraq. On the other side of the planet, on the other side of the giant fucking ocean and the sea. Do you get that? So if you are from here, you can't go over here and claim self-defense. That doesn't work. That's not how this works, okay? I wrote a whole article on Substack, Bipartisan Murder, after Biden bombed Syria the first time in February, explaining all of this, the legal rationale, although again, it's more illegal rationale rather. Yes, I went into the AUMF, into the War Powers Resolution, all of this. Go read that on the Substack, okay? RichardMedhurst.substack.com. It's called Bipartisan Murder. I delved into all this crap, and it's the same they're using it this time around. It's the same logic. It's the same crap. So let's look at Article 51 over here, okay? It says, nothing in the present charter shall impair the inherent right of individual or collective self-defense if an armed attack occurs against a member of the United Nations until the Security Council has taken measures necessary to maintain international peace and security. All right? Measures taken by members, meaning member states, in the exercise of this right of self-defense shall be immediately reported to the Security Council Shall not in any way affect the authority and responsibility of the Security Council under the present charter to take at any time such action as it deems necessary in order to maintain or restore international peace and security. So the guys here is that you can't just take things into your own hands. You must also go through the UN Security Council. That's why it's been put into place. Now, unfortunately, there ain't much respect for the UN Security Council. Why? Because it's being run by imperialists, right? You have veto power with the UK, with France, China, Russia, and the US. Right, so holding Israel accountable, forget about it. Complying with enforcing any of the UN resolutions on Israel, forget about it. When they tried, in 2003 when they invaded Iraq, they tried to do it through the UN, and when it didn't work, they're just like, okay, screw it, we're just going to invade Iraq anyway. So they don't even respect they don't respect international law. And Biden was one of those people who pushed that war. He has no respect for international law. He's a lying piece of shit. All right, and he's forgotten about Article 2 over here, right? So again, I've outlined all of these in the article, okay? So while Biden cites Article 51 under the UN, the United Nations Charter as the U.S. right to self-defense, one has to wonder how Article 51 would even begin to apply in this context. Syria has not attacked the United States, nor are the two nations at war, at least officially. Moreover, if the targets were so-called Iranian-backed militias, the same rationale still applies, right? So meaning that they're not a state, they're not a member state, essentially, because that's the argument the Americans try to make. They say, well, we're not bombing a member state, even though it's taking place on another member state's land. These bombings also violate Article 2.4 of the United Nations Charter, which asserts Syria's sovereignty and prohibits use of force against other member states. Let's take a look, right? So I think if 404 on me, I pulled up another one. All members shall refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state or in any other manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations. So you've already violated that, one of the most basic, fundamental pillars of international law, of peace, and the UN Charter. So you want to come here and tell me that you respect international law? This is bollocks. This is bollocks, right? And so what does he say over here, Biden? He says that I am providing this report as part of my efforts to keep the Congress fully informed, consistent with the War Powers Resolution, okay? Additional information is provided in a classified annex. So what is the War Powers Resolution? The War Powers Resolution, again, I told you from 73. So if a U.S. president goes and attacks another country, as he just did with Syria and Iraq, he has 48 hours to notify Congress, right? Which he did. Here it is, right? This is him informing Congress. And then Congress can decide, okay, well, are we okay with this? Right? If they're okay with it, they can, he's allowed to keep, the president is allowed to keep troops in for another 60 days. They can approve that. And, it's basically a mechanism to make sure that presidents can't just go and start wars whenever they feel like it, right? Which apparently makes no difference, because when you have a War Powers Resolution, but the Congress is filled full of warmongers, well, it doesn't really make much difference then if you comply with it or not, because they're going to approve all of your crap. I mean, just look at what it says in the War Powers Resolution. It's quite short, huh? They say that the constitutional powers of the president as commander-in-chief to introduce the U.S. armed forces into hostilities or into situations where imminent involvement in hostilities is clearly indicated by the circumstances are exercised only pursuant to 1, a declaration of war, 2, specific statutory authorization, or 3, a national emergency created by attack upon the United States, its territories or possessions, or its armed forces, right? So, number one, there was no declaration of war. Biden has not declared war on Syria, although he has, I mean, in effect he has, right? So, but not officially, at least, according to their own laws. Number two, that's about an AOMF, an authorization for the use of military force. There isn't one for Syria. There isn't one. Number three, a national emergency created by attack upon the United States. What national emergency? That's not I mean, even if you look at the incidents that he cited in his letter, right, when he's informing Congress, that's not a national emergency. This is absurd. So he's not even complying with with his own malarkey, right? He cites the War Powers Resolution. He's not even following it. But it doesn't matter. You know why it doesn't matter? Because once again, Congress is filled with scum. In the Democratic Party, in the Republican Party, they're all scum. The Congress, the U.S. Congress, this building, Capitol, this is what it exports. It exports war terrorism, suffering, sanctions, death. That's what comes out of the Capitol building. That's what comes out of that building. And the White House, evidently, right? So it doesn't matter that he lies in it because they're not going to hold him accountable. They all want the war. They're totally fine with the wars. This letter, right, to Speaker of the House, to Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi knows that Bush lied about Iraq, and she knew he was lying about it before the invasion. She admits this in 2019, just openly. And she says, no, I didn't want to impeach him. Even though people wanted me to impeach him, I didn't want to impeach him. She doesn't give a shit. No one gives a crap. When Trump bombed Syria, right, they weren't mad that he did it over lies about the OPCW, that this completely made up chemical gas attack that was used. There you go. It was used as a pretext to bomb Syria. They didn't even give the OPCW time to do the investigation. They didn't care about that. They cared that, oh, well, look, he's the Mad King, right? They call him the Mad King. And oh, he went behind Congress's back. And this is unacceptable. But apparently, when Biden does it, they don't give a shit. It's okay for Biden to go behind Congress's back, right? He's not going behind their back. They know, I know, for all intents and purposes, they know damn well. There's no problem with him informing Congress because they all love war. They're all warmongers. Now, Biden over here, he doesn't cite the AUMF of 2002. AUMF is authorization for the use of military force, right? This is the piece of toilet paper that has caused millions, of injuries and deaths in Iraq, right? So what is it? It's basically Congress giving itself authorization, right? Giving the president authorization to go to war. It's the U.S. giving itself permission to go to war, as if U.S. law is international law, right? Again, I think people need to get this through their heads. Even if every single person in Congress votes to declare war on Syria, and I'm pretty sure they all do deep down, it doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean you can just go and start a war. That's your Congress. Outside of your borders, your laws don't mean shit. I know this is tough to grasp for Americans, but outside of here, it doesn't mean anything. You know why? Because that's not the U.S., right? Syria is not the U.S. Iraq is not the U.S. So I don't care if your Congress declares war or not. I don't care if Biden follows your AUMF, or your war powers resolution or not. You have no right to come to Syria. You have no right to come to Iraq. This is as simple as that. It's as simple as that. You have no right to be attacking Iran-backed militias or whatever you want to call them. I don't care what you call them. I don't care what you call Shabi or the PMF. I don't care if you call them Iran-backed militias. You have no business with Iran-backed militias. So go back to the U.S. Stealing oil, killing people, seizing their resources, starving them. How dare you speak of self-defense? What the fuck is that? How can you speak of self-defense in this situation when you are the oppressor? So, when they come here and they want to talk about defensive measures and defending their interests, the United States has no interests in Syria and Iraq except chaos and stealing resources and keeping people divided. They want to make sure that the Arab states are divided. They want to make sure that Iraq stays under occupation so they can be a thorn in Iran's side, right? And a thorn in Syria's side. They want to keep bombing Syria because this is what Israel does every other week. They want to keep Syria in chaos because Syria is one of the last socialist, independent Arab countries that still supports the Palestinian cause, that still will not recognize Israel, will never normalize ties with Israel, that still stands up for the oppressed, for the imperialists, the victims of imperialism. Syria is a part of the axis of resistance. So they want to keep Syria under attack. Iraq has the Hashd al-Shabi. Who are they attacking? The resistance. This is the resistance, al-Muqawamah. The Hashd al-Shabi is the resistance. Syria is the resistance. Iran is the resistance. So that's why they're attacking them, because they resist imperialism. They are the victims of imperialists, and they stand up against colonialism, against this crap. That's why they're attacking them. There's no difference. There's no difference here between Trump and Biden. Trump cites the AUMF of 2002 to kill Soleimani. They don't give a shit. They don't give a crap. You know what they've done now? Look at this. Look what the House has done now. They finally voted to repeal the 2002 Iraq war powers, which, as I'm saying, it's the AUMF of 2002. Okay, what next? What next? Is the Senate going to do it? Is Biden, is Biden going to care? Biden isn't even using the AUMF to bomb Iraq. He just did it now, and he just bombed Syria again, and he bombed Syria in February. He didn't cite the AUMF. He just cited the War Powers Resolution because he knows that he can lie about it in his report to Congress because everyone in Congress loves war. They're all fucking bloodthirsty pieces of shit. It doesn't matter what legal lingo they use, what language they use, what goddamn clause they use. It doesn't matter. These people are fucking thugs. They're murderers. They're evil. That's what they are. It's organized crime at the state level. That's what it is. It's organized crime at the state level. So don't get caught up in this. Oh, well, Biden, he's protecting U.S. interests, and these were defensive measures and proportionate, and he's just defending it's self-defense, because this is what they tell you on MSNBC, and this is what they tell you on Fox, right? There's no difference here. There's no difference between Biden and Trump. They just they'll just use a different legal justification inside the U.S., but it's still a violation of international law. They're still killing people. They're still murdering the resistance, and they're helping ISIS. They're helping Daesh. Dude, when Trump assassinated Haj Qasem, when he assassinated General Soleimani and Abu Mahdi, who again is a commander in the PMU, you had these jihadists openly celebrating and thanking Trump, because that's who he's helping. America is ISIS Air Force. Do you understand this? This attack by Biden now on Iraq and Syria, his attack in February on Syria, Trump's assassination of Soleimani, this all serves the same purpose. It's to weaken the axis of resistance, and it's meant to give ISIS, to give Daesh a chance to resurge and to keep these countries in chaos, because they will not bend the knee to the U.S. These motherfuckers are on the same side. There is no difference between Trump and Biden. So all you fucking assholes who are coming here and spouting this, it's harm reduction, it's the lesser of two evils. Are you there? Are you there when the bombs drop? Is that your fucking birthplace when the bombs drop? Who the fuck are you to fucking speak about harm reduction when that's not your country being bombed? Who the fuck are you to talk about lesser of two evils when you don't have to face any of that evil? Do you have family under sanctions? Is that your country being bombed? Who the fuck are you? You have blood on your hands. You voted for Trump, you have blood on your hands. You voted for Biden, you have blood on your hands. Fucking shame on you. You know this shit deep down. You fucking know it. You fucking know it. Imperialist scum. So don't come fucking lecturing me or anyone else about lesser of two evils. You imperialist neo-colonial motherfucker. Eat shit. Fuck you. This is the resistance. And anyone who is attacking the resistance is helping Daesh, is helping the colonialists, is helping the fucking imperialist powers of the West. That's what it is. Don't get it twisted, man. It's that simple. It is that simple. So don't come here with Iran-backed militias and I don't care this mumbo jumbo, what fucking names they call it. They attacked the Hashd al-Shabi. They attacked the PMU. They attacked the Syrian army. They attacked Iran. They are attacking the resistance. They are upholding imperialism. That's it. It's that simple. Biden, Trump, I don't care. These are just different faces of the same machine. It's the same war machine. Stop letting the media fuck your brain and turn it into mush. It's that simple. This is the situation. This is the reality. Fucking hell, man. How many times do I have to explain this crap? Here, in the words of Glenn, at least Biden ordered bombing raids on Syria again and Iraq for the first time with dignity, normalcy, compassion, diversity, with pain in his heart, and the proper comportment we expect from the president. Voting matters. Yeah, you know, voting matters because you can get an all-matte military green B-52, or you can get one with, a pride flag. Yes, she can, Hillary sticker or Black Lives Matter, and you can have bombs dropping either way. It's just ordering a new skin for your aircraft. That's all it is, man. Right? That's all it is. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I told you this crap. I told you months ago, Biden is not going to be any different from Trump in every way possible, right? You're not getting a $15 minimum wage. He is not going to do shit for progressives. I'm a progressive. What the fuck is that? He's going to continue bombing Iraq, continue bombing Syria, continue putting sanctions on Venezuela, continue supporting, this puppet Guaido. Every single thing that Trump did, he has kept, and he continues it. You people are such dunces. I mean, have some goddamn self-respect, man. Have some self-respect. How do you sit there with a straight face and talk about this shit? How fucking ignorant can you be? How can you be working in politics and you don't know this basic shit 101? Man, you got kids in the street. Go to any Arab country, actually in most countries in the world. Ask any kid in the street. They will tell you themselves how every U.S. president is the same. They're all bastards. They're corrupt. They're warmongers. They're pieces of shit. Everyone, Democrat, Republican, makes no difference. Even kids know that. How the fuck you sit there acting all serious? Oh yeah, I'm a political commentator, bro. And you don't know this shit? Get the fuck out of my face, man. You got 200 years of catching up to do. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Pathetic. You are fucking pathetic. God damn it, man. You know what? I swear, when I made this t-shirt over here, this Uncle Joe's Rainbow Coalition Death Cult, that wasn't just satire, man. This is literally what it is. They put a bunch of rainbow stickers. They put a bunch of, we support minorities. They give you nice slogans that don't actually translate into anything for those minorities in real life. And then they continue the same class oppression. They continue the same wars. It's nothing changes. This wasn't satire. This is real. This is what it is. It's a fucking death cult in the White House, in the Capitol. And it's just changed mask right now. That's it. That is it. All right. And then they have the nerve to call this defensive. Man, I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of this. Honestly. Long live the resistance. Tahya al-muqawamah. That's all. That's it. That's all I got to say. So speaking of the resistance, I want to move on to the next topic, which is, I mean, this is so outrageous. It's a continuation of what we just talked about, right? So let me show you this, okay? So over here, and thank you for your super chats. I'll get to your super chats in a second, all right? So look, if you have any questions, I'm going to put this up on the screen while I get my stuff ready for the next one, okay? Don't go anywhere. We're still here. All right? So if you got any questions on PayPal, whatever, just shoot and I'll answer them in a second, all right? I'm just setting this up, the next one. So again, thank you all for supporting independent media, all right? Just give me a second to set this up because this is so outrageous what they did. This is so outrageous what they did. I cannot believe this shit. I cannot believe this. Right. So let's get to it. Let's get to it, man. Let's get to it. All right. So you may recall last week, Joe Biden's outrageous attack on the press. What does he do? He goes and shuts down 33 foreign news sites. Again, not inside the United States, which is already bad enough and authoritarian enough as it is. No. The United States decides for the whole world what news they can watch, right? So again, Press TV is not based in America, okay? I'm not based in America. But America, the United States, thinks it can go and shut down my show. It can go and shut down the show of my colleagues, their work. I mean, this is just criminal, right? You go to presstv.com, this is what you see now. This is what you see. This website has been seized. And that's not just Press TV. They did that to 33 news sites. And do you know what the justification is? Look at this. So you go to the statement that was released by the Department of Justice. I mean, this is outrageous. This is outrageous. Look what they say here. Okay? So they admit that they took down 33 websites, right? And they say that they're used by the Iranian Islamic Radio and Televisions Union, IRTVU, and 3 websites operated by Kata'ib Hezbollah, right? So again, that's a resistance group in Iraq that we were just talking about. So they say here on October 22nd, 2020, the Office of Foreign Assets Control, so that's part of the Treasury, designated IRTVU as a specially designated national, SDN, for being owned or controlled by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Quds Force. Okay, so do you understand what that is? Did you just digest what I read to you? Let me explain this to you because this is so outrageous. This is so outrageous. They're saying that all these stations, which includes Press TV, right, who are part of IRTVU, are being run by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. I mean, we're talking about, this is the most elite fighting force that Iran has. And specifically, they say the Quds force, which is the cream of the crop. And who is the head of the Quds force? You remember? You remember Trump assassinated Haj Qasem Soleimani, right? So we were just talking about him. He was the head of the Quds force. There is no equivalent role for him in any other country. I cannot explain to you his importance in military endeavors and also politically. Yes, he's a rank of general, but it's more than that. He's not just some random general, which would already be bad enough. It's already an extreme, it's an extraordinary declaration of war to assassinate a general. But him especially, Trump killed him and Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis. Abu Mahdi was a commander in the PMU. So the United States DOJ is saying that they shut down Press TV and they shut down all these news sites because apparently they're run by Iran's most elite fighting force, the Quds force. I mean, this is outrageous. What an outrageous lie. And look at the date. You see that date, October 22nd, 2020? That's a Trump sanction. These are sanctions that Trump imposed on Iran. Iran has more than 1,500 sanctions on it. Again, Trump he contributed significantly to that with the maximum pressure campaign. He did that to Venezuela, to Syria, right? Him and Pompeo just putting as many sanctions as they can because they're bastards, right? Sanctions kill people. It's siege warfare. They don't care. And so part of those sanctions is saying that the IRTVU and all the channels and sites underneath are apparently being run by the most elite fighting force, special forces in Iran, right? So this is like saying that, MSNBC is being run by the Navy SEALs or Delta Force. Although again, it's not a perfect equivalence. It's not the perfect analogy, but still, you get the point here. I mean, this is outrageous. It's outrageous enough for Trump to say it, but Biden runs with it. Once again, do you see how Biden is no fucking different? What did I tell you? What have I been sitting here and telling you for a year now? The better part of a year. There is no difference between these two. There is no difference. So he runs with Trump sanctions, right? And look what he says here. SDNs are prohibited from obtaining services, including website and domain services in the U.S. without an OFAC license. OFAC's announcement explained that components of the government of Iran, to include IRTVU and others like it, disguised as news organizations or media outlets. Apparently, we're disguised as news outlets now. So let me get this straight. Apparently, I'm part of Iran's most elite special forces. Right here, you see this elite special forces, Mike? And on top of that, I'm disguised as a news outlet. Wow. Apparently my YouTube channel, like all the live streams we've been doing, every one of you who's been signing up on Patreon, you guys are Assadist money, and you're also part of this whole cover-up operation. Wow. Really? I mean, what is this diarrhea that I'm reading here? And they're saying that these disguised as news organizations or media outlets targeted the United States with disinformation campaigns and malign influence operations. Oh yeah, what you mean, telling the truth? Yeah, I can understand if your whole country and your empire runs on a massive propaganda network, that yeah, telling the truth would count as disinformation, right? Right, war is peace. You know how the Orwell quote goes, I'm completely butchering it. The point here is that Biden is taking Trump sanctions and just running with them, and no one gives a crap, right? I mean, whether he's using Trump sanctions to justify it or not, this is not the whole point. The fact that he has done this is outrageous to begin with. But this, accusing journalists, accusing foreigners who are not even in the United States, we're not even in the United States, accusing us of being, what is this, special forces, military units? And then shutting us down? What is that? What do you call that? What do you call that when a leader, when a government dubs the media, dubs his critics in the media spies, or accuses them of working for military forces, foreign forces, and then shuts them down, silences them? What do you call that? I recall everyone screaming about, oh my God, democracy is on the ballot, decency is on the ballot. You have to go vote for Joe Biden because if you don't, fascism is going to win. Donald Trump is going to win. It's going to be fascism. Oh my God. Oh, well, it turns out you got a 2-for-1 over here. You got a 2-for-1. You got Biden and fascism. Well done. How are you liking your dose of authoritarianism? How are you liking this, huh? You're accusing foreign outlets of being special forces now? Have you lost it? And notice how many are silent on this, right? So they'll say, oh, this is bad, but they won't actually, I mean, that's already very few of them. They won't actually dive into this, right? How many of these so-called leftists, right, these so-called commentators, how many are actually willing to stand up for Persian, Arabic, Islamic networks? You know, the real resistance, the news sites, the outlets, the publishers who actually resist U.S. imperialism, who actually stand for something, not your fucking Democratic Party infighting bullshit. You know, real news, adversarial news. How many of them? Very few. It's funny, right? Because you have all these people who claim to, oh, you know, I'm totally like against racism and stuff, and you know, I totally against imperialism. But you know, when it comes to actually confronting imperialism, oh, they're nowhere to be found. Oh, they're gone, right? All these, oh, I'm a free speech absolutist. Really? Where are you now? I don't see much free speech absolutism from you right now. Where are you? Where have you vanished? Oh, you don't want to stand up for Press TV? You're too scared? You don't want to stand up for Al Furat, Palestine Today? No? Al Masira? No, you don't want to stand up for Iraqi, Yemeni, Iranian news outlets? No? Mm-mm. Oh, okay, I see how it is. You see where they stand at the end of the day. It's right by Uncle Sam's side, like little lapdogs. So, I mean, this is outrageous. This is outrageous, honestly. And the funniest part, of course, well, actually, no, the funniest part was they're calling us special forces. What a compliment, right? Is that they're saying, oh, these news sites didn't obtain an exemption. Oh, yeah, because, of course, you know, the Treasury, OFAC, they're dying to give an exemption from sanctions to all of these news sites who constantly criticize sanctions and tell you what sanctions really are and tell you what the U.S. government really is and tell you what imperialism really is. Oh, they're dying. They're dying to give an exemption, right? Listen, man, all of these sites that we just mentioned are not based in the United States. They do not operate in the United States. They're not headquartered there. They have no bureaus there. These websites, these news sites, these outlets, these publishers are in the Middle East, okay? With some offices in Europe. You have no right to come and shut these sites down. Again, it's outrageous enough blocking them in your own country, but you are deciding for 1.4 billion English-speaking people whether they can watch Press TV or not? Really? And of course, the vacuum that this has created in the Arabic language world, because many of those channels were also Arabic broadcasters. So what is that? What is that? This is not just totalitarianism or authoritarianism. It's beyond that. We you know, this is international, you know, organized crime. This is imperialism. This is what these thugs do, right? They think they can just come and take all the domains. And their logic is that, well, look, you know, VeriSign is an American company. VeriSign is the one that gives out .com domains. They run them at least, right? They're tasked with running domains that end in .com. And therefore, the U.S. government has jurisdiction over them. What? What kind of mental gymnastics is this? It's not the first time, though, right? They've been using this for many years now. They've been using this to sue people outside the United States, you know, who I don't know, been pirating stuff. I don't know the complexity of those cases, but they've been using this argument for a while now that, look, the domain ends in .com, so even though you are not American and your website is not in America, we're still going to go after you in the courts. Right? Because this is what the U.S. does. The U.S. extraterritorializes its laws, and its laws are draconian and barbaric. And then it has the gall to point the finger at other countries, right? They have the stones to point the finger at Iran and Syria and pick whatever country you like targeted for regime change. They have the stones to point the finger at them and accuse them of not respecting the press, of not respecting the media, of being dictatorships and being authoritarian. Really? What is this? What is this? This is on another level. This is on another level. They've knocked out these sites for the whole planet. Disgusting. Disgusting. And seriously, man, I cannot believe the stones. The stones on these fucking Biden sycophants, these, you know, bootlicking pieces of crap who have been whining like, oh my God, you're dividing the left. Oh, you're attacking the Democratic Party at a bad time. And oh, look, man, you obviously love fascism and Trump because you're attacking Biden. Go and eat shit. Seriously, eat shit. Okay? Maybe this game works for you in the United States. This does not work for the rest of the world. Yeah, in case you haven't noticed, people outside of your bubble, the rest of the world knows what's going on. The jig's up. It's been up for a long time. Okay? We know there's no difference between you. We know there's no difference between Democrat, Republican. There's no difference. This is laughable. This is a joke. This is a joke. So this game does not work. Right? And it's funny, right? They're all silent now because everything I've said has come true. I told you that Biden would uphold virtually every single thing in foreign policy. He still hasn't re-entered the JCPOA, right? He's still bombing Syria, bombing Iraq. He's still going after Iran. He's letting Israel off the hook when they're going after Iran with nuclear terrorism. He's keeping sanctions on all these countries. No difference. No goddamn difference. He won't even move the embassy back to Tel Aviv, right? In occupied Palestine. Nothing. No, he's taking everything that Trump did and he's keeping it. Because why should he? You ain't going to pressure him. Why the fuck would he do anything? So they've come here. The Biden administration has come and knocked out dozens of anti-imperialist foreign outlets and claiming this is counterterrorism. Wow. 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 Again, man, I'm going to try and take this as a positive because, what else can you do in this situation? We're going to continue. That's what we're going to do. We're going to continue. All right. We're going to continue because Press TV is not. I mean, Press TV is stronger than ever at this point. All of these outlets are. We're going to continue holding you bitches to account. We're going to continue exposing imperialism, sanctions. We're going to do all of this stuff. Even harder because no one in the US is going to do it. No one in the West is going to do it. No one in the UK is going to do it because that's state media. They are never going to talk about empire in the same way because they're not subjected to empire in the same way and they're too afraid to hold them accountable. We will continue. Again, presstv.com is gone now. As you can see, it says this website has been seized. Right? It's gone, but there's still presstv.ir. You can still access it there. There was a mirror and it's up, thankfully. So you can still access it there. My show is still there, presstv.ir. But this one, presstv.com, is gone. So much for restoring the soul of America, right? Whatever the fuck that means. Whatever that garbage means. Whatever that nauseating rubbish means. This is the soul of America, right? This is America's press freedoms. This is America's respect for the press and respect for journalists, right? This is what they do. Here, I posted a collage. For you. Not just Press TV. Again, these are all the outlets. Look at them. This is press freedom in America, right? They just shut down adversarial news outlets. One by one. One by one. Dozens. They try to extraterritorialize their stuff, just like with Assange, right? Just like with Assange. They want to apply U.S. law to the UK. They want to apply U.S. law to Iran, to Iraq. Imperialism, man. Imperialism. That's what it is. Disgusting. It's disgusting. So that's one outrageous bit that I wanted to talk about with you. And, it's just, it's a badge of honor. Like I said, it's a badge of honor at the very least. What do they call us? They call us, like I was saying, it's a badge of honor at the very least. So Biden had to activate emergency laws. He activated the International Economic Emergency Powers Act. He had to declare a national emergency, basically, to do this, right? And then he said, oh, well, Press TV and all these outlets, they pose a threat to the United States. And so I have to impose these sanctions and shut them down and seize the domains, right? It's not about the domains. It has nothing to do with that. Right? If they wanted to go after .com domains that haven't obtained a sanctions exemption, then why didn't they go after every single Iranian website that is using a .com domain and hasn't obtained a license? They didn't. They went only after the press because Biden is just as much a piece of shit as Trump. Right? There is no press freedom in America. We're not even talking about in America. There's no press freedoms at all because the U.S. is going to come after you if you say something they don't like. And just like with Assange, they try to extraterritorialize their crap, right? They want to apply U.S. law in the UK and U.S. law to everyone else. That's how it is. But we're going to take it as a badge of honor. We're going to take it as a badge of honor because they called us an unusual and extraordinary threat, right? U.S. Code, what is it, 50, Title 1701, an unusual and extraordinary threat. And they say here that apparently, according to Trump and Biden, because there's no difference, my program, my television program, all my colleagues, all the people who work also on the other channels besides Press TV, we're part of the most elite fighting force in Iran, the Quds Force. Wow. That's what they say. That's what they tell me. That's what the DOJ says. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, really. And then they have the stones to lecture about press freedoms. I never want to hear I never want to hear anyone in the West talk about that again, ever. Because you know Press TV is banned in the UK as well. So, technically speaking, everything that I do for Press TV, my television program, is banned in the United States and now worldwide on presstv.com. And in the UK revoked Press TV's license a few years ago. Ofcom is the telecoms regulator. They just revoked it, right? And they did the same thing to CGTN, which is a Chinese outlet, a few months ago. And then when the Chinese revoked BBC's license in response, they were like, oh my God, they're attacking the press. Motherfucker, you revoked CGTN's license first, right? Again, it's always the West that's the victim. It's always the British and the Americans and the Israelis, and everyone else is the aggressor. Always, right? Oh man. People are starting to see through their bullshit. I think they're scared. I think they're scared because in this last round of attacks on Gaza, the Israelis slaughtering over 240 Palestinians, thousands injured, as usual, of course, right? As usual, that the death toll is incomparable. They started losing narrative control because you have people who are starting to see the truth. I was talking to Max Blumenthal on my show, and like you said, you had protests like in Kansas and Florida and like places you would never see or imagine a pro-Palestinian protest before. And now it's happening, right? So they're losing narrative control. They're scared. And you have, at the same time, Biden, who refuses to enter the nuclear deal again, although he promised to do so, right? And, he goes and shuts down all these Iranian sites. And then a week later, he goes and bombs so-called Iran-backed militias, which is actually the Hashd al-Sha'bi, the PMU, in Iraq and Syria. So he's trying to squeeze Iran the same way that Trump is squeezing Iran, right? He's keeping the sanctions. He's continuing to bomb. He's continuing to attack their outlets. And then claiming that he is decent. Well, if you fell for that, you are a bigger fucking dunce than you imagine. So what can I say, man? Same old, right? Don't say I didn't warn you. I warned you. I warned you. So, okay, you guys have been sending some super chats and questions. Thank you very much. We got one over here from Rodrigo Costa. Says, damn, Richard is on fire today. I wish half of my teachers had this emotion to talk about stuff. My masters would have been so much better. Well, I take that as a huge compliment, and I'm very grateful. I'm very humbled to hear that. Thank you. Thank you very much for your support also, Rodrigo. And we got one here from Christina. Says, thank you for reporting on your homeland. I learned so much history when I watch your channel. Peace be upon you. Wa alaikum assalam. I really appreciate that very much. I think history and politics now, they're intertwined. You cannot talk about one without the other. And yes, of course, that goes without saying. But what history? Which history are we talking about? The Western imperialist history or the real history? The one that actually happened, that took place? The colonization, the plundering of Africa, of the Middle East, of Southeast Asia, of Latin America. That's the history. That's the real history that they don't teach you. So you have to know that one to understand what's going on today, because it's still continuing today, right? It's still continuing today. We talk about neo-colonial. Is it really neo? They're still around. It's the same countries. They just swapped masks. That's it. It's the same countries. So thank you, Christina, for your support. We got one from Totally Awesome. It says, as an Iraqi, it's beyond sorrow now. Force them out. Amen. Tahiyya al-Muqawmi. We got one here from Dikaleta. I hope I'm saying that correctly. It says, okay, Islama from an Iraqi brother, Iraqi Assyrian brother of the resistance. Ahlan wa sahlan. Ahlan wa sahlan, habibi. This is awesome. I always love when, like I said, I see an international audience, but specifically, Akhwatna, al-Arab. We got one here from, this is from Christian, says, keep fighting and destroying these false pretexts and concepts of this false dichotomy. Lesser of two evils and force us to adhere to U.S. imperialism. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is, man. They are. It's not even just that, right? They try to crush you on the domestic front as well. So you can't survive. You're a slave to their system, right? You can't even have healthcare. I mean, it's you know, if that weren't enough, I don't know what is. Because, you know, you would think people would wake up from things that are influencing their circumstances. And of course, the wars are connected. Why do you think you don't have those things? Because your so-called government is busy, you know, fighting wars and trying to kill other people. But yes, you know, it's all connected, and it's a false dichotomy. They just get you to switch from one monster to the other. Like, it's like playing ping pong, right? It's like they're throwing the ball between each other. They're playing catch, and they got people running in the middle, and they don't like it when the jig's up. They don't like it when people explain what it is, because then the whole thing collapses, and people see it for what it is. It's a one-party system. Thank you again, Christian, for your support. Vito says, U.S. government and its media drown in a sea of hypocrisy. That's putting it mildly. That's putting it mildly, boy. When Hong Kong closed down just one regime change, racist rag, Apple Daily, the UK, EU, and the US are all hounding China for losing the freedom of the press. Yes, thank you. That's actually the one I forgot to mention, right? Again, as you said, they're drowning. The U.S., the Western media is drowning in a sea of hypocrisy. And at the same time, the Biden shut down all these outlets. They were whining about Apple Daily being shut down in Hong Kong, right? Oh my God, press freedoms. Oh my God, Navalny. Yeah, really? What about Assange, right? Who's been on the run for 10 years, who's been persecuted, who's been tortured for 10 years, right? On the run, I say that in the sense that he's being persecuted, not that he's actually done anything wrong or evaded anything. And of course, what about the outlets that the U.S. has just silenced and shut down because they criticize imperialism? Nothing, not a word, not a word. Double standards. I mean, hypocrisy of the highest order. Complete. And over here, you guys are very generous. I'm just reading all of your tips, so thank you very much for your contributions. We have, oh wow, we got a couple of people just join on Patreon. That is amazing. We got Bashad, we got Nick, and we got, this is, wow. I'm gonna have to play a crab dance for you guys. Whenever someone joins on Patreon, I'll play a crab dance. Thank you so much for your support. Let's go, baby.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Why you texting? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Hey, wasn't that amazing? Man, we haven't played a crab dance in a while. So thank you very much to Bashar. Thank you so much to Nick for signing up to support the show. Let's check out the thermometer, the Biden thermometer over here. He's sniffing up all that oil, man. Let's check it out. Look at this. We're at 377. I need to update it to reflect it. We're at 377 now. Amazing. So I've changed the Patreon URL, if you haven't noticed. It's patreon.com/RichardMedhurst. And the PayPal one is the same. So thank you for supporting independent media. Thank you for supporting anti-imperialist media, which is much needed. If I may blow smoke up my own ass. Obviously, I'm not touting my own horn. I'm also talking about Black Agenda Report. I'm talking about the real ones, man, who've been out here doing this for ages and speaking truth to power. There is a severe deficiency of anti-imperialist media. All right. So thank you so much for supporting independent journalism and anti-imperialist media. It is the most important thing that one can do in this regard if one can afford to. And I'm very grateful for all of your support. We got some tips over here on RockFem. Sharon sent a tip. Thank you very much, Sharon. We have another one over here from Mark. Thank you, Mark. Emblem Fate has sent a tip, and he says, let's just be honest. Liberals voted for Biden not so they can help people, but so they can ignore people getting murdered and feel good. They're brainwashed by MSNBC and CNN to have their 1984, like 10 minutes of hate. God, that's so accurate. Really, really, really accurate, honestly. That's just the perfect, it's not even just an analogy, it's just reality. God. Seriously, big up, Emblem. Thanks for the support. Really great comment. Emblem again says, sorry again for your pain, Rich. I know this is rough. Keep in mind, it's the progressives who call Biden the lesser evil. But the right also believes nonsense that Biden is socialist and starts wars against socialist countries to spread socialism. Both sides are idiots. Oh, they absolutely are. They absolutely are, man. They absolutely are. You know, this is the problem. Again, I don't want to generalize, but when we are talking about the mainstream discourse in American politics, yes, it's a big problem, right? Because, as you just pointed out, both sides, and it's not even really both sides, it's a one-party system, they're idiots, right? If you're to the left of the Republican Party, you are a communist. You are even Che Guevara, and you're Lenin's descendant, man, according to them. And if you are to the right of the Democrats, then you're a KKK Grand Wizard. When at the end of the day, they're all the same shit. All of these people, the Republicans, the Democrats, they're playing on the same team. They're playing on the same team. Make no mistake. Make no mistake. So, what can I say? What can I say? It's exhausting, right? And again, I think you bring up a really funny point, how they think that, Biden attacking socialist countries, but apparently he's a socialist. Yeah, that really makes sense, right? God damn it, man. But it's okay. We keep up. We keep on. We keep on going, right? Mike says, undeclared war is the one thing our country can pull together around. Keep it up. Yeah, of course. Of course. They don't even need to declare it anymore because they got the War Powers Resolution. They got Congress giving an AUMF like it's a blank check, right? And it is a blank check. It's a carte blanche because the 2001 AUMF, they're never going to repeal that one, right? They're never going to repeal the AUMF of 2001. So now the House has voted to repeal the AUMF of 2002, the Authorization for the Use of Military Force, 2002, because that one gave the Americans, the Americans gave themselves permission to go to war with Iraq over lies about weapons of mass destruction, over numerous lies that Saddam had biological weapons, chemical weapons, nuclear weapons, that he was giving those weapons to Al-Qaeda, that he was sheltering Al-Qaeda, even though the two have nothing in common and are mortal enemies, as anyone with even just a basic understanding of the region would know. They repealed that in the House. I don't know if it's going to get repealed in the Senate, if it matters. It doesn't matter. You know why? Because the AUMF of 2001, which is for the war on terror, this one they will never repeal. Because that is their template. This is their blank check for every U.S. president since Bush, including Bush, to terrorize, to murder, to bomb, to slaughter all over the world. They've used the AUMF of 2001 against 19 countries that they admit to, right? Those are the ones that the Senate report admits to. 19 countries. And keep in mind, the AUMF of 2001 is like 2 pages, literally 2 pages. It's extremely short. It's designed that way. It has to be. It has to be abstract. You know why? Because that's how you get endless wars. That's how you get military-industrial complex on steroids. And it was already on steroids in many ways, right? But the war on terror, Bush's war on terror, which has been continued by every president since, is an excuse. And the way they rationalize it in the U.S., and again, I need to make this point here, like I do every time. Just because something is quote-unquote legal in the United States does not make it legal in the rest of the world, does not make it legal under international law. U.S. law is U.S. law. It's not international law, right? Even though most Americans think that, they're the center of the universe. So, the AUMF of 2001 doesn't mention Al-Qaeda. It doesn't mention bin Laden. It doesn't mention the Taliban. Nothing. It just says, anyone who is responsible for or who aided those responsible for the attacks on 9/11. I'm paraphrasing, but it's that's what it is. That's the gist of it. So it's designed that way on purpose, and it's still here, right? They're never going to repeal that one. Even the senators and the Congress people in the U.S. government who pretend to be anti-war and are like, we can't have unchecked sweeping powers in the White House. The president can't do this, which is all blah, blah. They support repealing the AUMF of 2002, of 1991. Yes, that's still a thing. I think they just repealed one from 1957, right? They just make one. Congress just gives the president a blank check and it just stays there for like a century. They'll talk about those, but they're never going to repeal the one from 2001 because that is their cash cow, right? That's how they justify the war on terror for themselves. They make the illegal legal. Even the surveillance program, Bush, Cheney, David Addington, his lawyer, he goes in and draws this up the day of 9/11, right? And it was secret for a while, but then they ended up making a lot of it legal, right? Presidential surveillance program, it morphs into PRISM, et cetera, et cetera. And the same thing with the wars, right? So just going back to the point you raised, they don't need a declaration of war. You don't need a declaration of war. If Congress can just give you an AOMF, a blank check to use for decades and decades and decades and decades and kill millions and millions and millions of people. Why declare war? You can just use this crap. And even if you lie, like Biden lies, like Trump lies, they're never going to hold you accountable because the whole government is full of warmongers. The Democrats and Republicans are playing on the same team. These people are scum. They work for the military-industrial complex. And those who don't are too afraid to stand up to it. They talk a good one, but they're never going to actually do anything concrete. They can't because they are trapped in a system that is designed to stop anyone from doing anything concrete, right? So, the Capitol building, as much as they whine about what they've been through. Oh, they ain't been through nothing similar to what they inflict on the rest of the planet. The Capitol building exports terrorism, exports death and destruction and sanctions and worry and pain and starvation and desolation. That's what they export. They're murderers. They're murderers. That's what they are. So I have no respect for these people, right? It's just like the British Parliament. They may dress up in suits and, some of them even have fancy fucking wigs. And they dress each other by, the right honorable gentleman and the right honorable lady. I don't give a shit. This is all a facade. This is a farce. It's decorum. Deep down, they are the biggest criminals on the face of the planet. And when I say deep down, I mean, without the wigs. They are the biggest criminals on the face of the planet. That's what they are. They are thugs. They are murderers. They are responsible for so much destruction. We can never even know the full extent. No human could. It's beyond comprehension, right? Zip77 says, thanks, Richard. Iraqi origin, but born in Syria. Ahlan wa sahlan. Ahlan wa sahlan, ya ibn al-Sham, habibi. Says, props and love from Australia. Passion for human beings and actual news, not narratives anymore. I love it. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's really good. Once again, I'm always happy. I'm always flattered to see my brothers and sisters on here. It's very humbling. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. عن جد انبسطت يعني عن جد فرحان فيكم. So I'm just looking at we got another super chat over here from Mike. Mike says okay, well yes, of course, that's the one I just read out. Yeah, I did a whole rant about. So yeah, I hope that was an adequate response, and I thank you for that very much. Hey, we got a tip over here. Wow, we got several people just signed up on Patreon. I'm going to play Crab Dance for all of you right now. This is huge. We got Ash, we got Abe, we got Armin, we got Christina. Thank you to all of you. Bless you so much for supporting independent media. Bless you, bless you. This Crab Dance is dedicated just for you guys. Put your hands together, everybody.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard.
Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Why you texting? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Wow. You guys are awesome. Seriously, I've been waiting to get to 400 on Patreon so I can change the Crab Dance. There's so many things I want to add to it. you know, some new memes and stuff from politics. I've been waiting for you guys. So we're almost there. I lost count. How many are we at now? Claudio needs to give me the count. But it's more than 375. We're almost there, man. We're like 20 people away from hitting our goal. Come on. Let's do it, man. I think we can do it tonight. So again, the new Patreon is patreon.com/RichardMedhurst. And again, you can support the show monthly for as much as you like, man. $2, $3.50, $7, I don't care. Everything is appreciated. And that's it. That's all I have to say. I'm very grateful for your support and for helping out anti-imperialist independent media. This is the way to go, man. As Uncle Sam says, apparently, I pose an unusual and extraordinary threat, as do all my colleagues at Press TV. So, you know, if you want to support that, an unusual and extraordinary threat to imperialism, this is the spot. You came to the right spot. No lies. That's the truth. It's the truth, man. This is Special Forces anti-imperialism. It's right here, man. This is the spot. Emblem Fate says, as a Pan-Africanist, even though they're Arab, I have huge respect for Nasser and Gaddafi, right? So I'm just curious, outside the U.S., what Afro leaders, dead or alive, were inspirations to you? Well, okay, I'm gonna be very straight up here and say Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and of course I would also go ahead and include the ones that you just mentioned. Even though they're Arabs, they're still African leaders, right? Nasser and Gaddafi, and Nasser especially. Why Nasser? Because he was the one who pushed Pan-Arabism. He is the one who posed the threat to Israel. He was considered big enough of a threat that the Israelis were hiring. They were going and killing German scientists with the Mossad who were working on Egypt's ballistic missile program, right? Egypt and Syria became one country. So there was a real push for Pan-Arabism, right? Now, of course, as you mentioned many times right here, Emblem himself knows, when they pushed Gaddafi, right? And I mean, just shortly before they killed him, he had had enough of Pan-Arabism. And I think I can understand why, probably because, you know, he wasn't getting anywhere with that. And he tried to push for Pan-Africanism, which is also awesome, which is also beautiful. And this is what the Westerners, they hate. This is what they fear. Why do you think, look at the globe over here. Why do you think that they've gone and carved up Africa and carved up the Middle East? Why do you think that they drew these maps? And especially based on sectarian lines too. Is to keep people divided, because the one thing that they fear is unison. They fear having a united Arab country, a united Arab republic, as it was called, the Syrian and Egyptian UAR, right? They fear having Pan-Africanism, Pan-Arabism, because, you know, how can they even contend? Just as an example, as I've told you many times before, look at the Arab world, right? Geographically, how everything is connected, common culture, common history. Look at Africa. Africa is the most resource-rich continent in the world, right? But what's happening there? You have all these multinationals. You know, people talk about decolonization in 1945. That never happened. Why? You have French multinationals who are taking out uranium and given pennies, right? They take out so much and give back pennies in Niger. You look at all these companies mining for coltan. You look at all of these multinationals that are coming from the same countries who colonized Africa, who are reaping the benefits still now, the vast majority of them, who are robbing these countries blind after dividing and carving them up. I mean, it's disgusting, right? So we should not talk about neocolonialism or specifically about decolonization, because it never happened. It's still there. The relationship, the imbalance is still there. It's just this changed name. And so that's why they fear, going back to my point, that's why they fear people like Gaddafi, like Nasser. And also that's why they killed Patrice Lumumba, right? That's why they went after Lumumba. So whenever you have a real anti-imperialist leader who emerges, who is opposed to colonial interests, and who is also trying to unite others behind this message, behind this political movement, they get got. They kill them. Just like they did with Gaddafi, just like they did with Lumumba. This is how it goes, right? It's disgusting. It's just like gangs. This is why you should see international politics as, you know, it's the same thing as gang warfare, as gang culture on, you know, a larger scale. It's the mafia, right? It is. It is in many ways. Perhaps not identical 100%, but in many ways there are many similarities. Absolutely, right? So we got another comment over here from Sasha. Says, keep doing the great job. Please see if you can provide interviews with real people in Syria. Well, I mean, I'm talking to my cousins all the time, and I'm telling you what they're telling me. So Roni has just moved out of Syria a few months ago and resettled. And if you want to complain about Roni not coming on the show, because he used to come on a lot, you got to go complain to him, because I think he got shy. Ever since I got famous, he won't come on the show anymore, right? Even though he's my cousin. We have a lot of videos that we did together. Ever since I got famous, he won't come in. I know you're listening, you bastard. I know you're listening. Ya ars. So I know he's listening right now, but he's too afraid to come on the show. I think he's anxious because we got, 500 people watching right now? It's not like before, huh? He's a bit nervous. So there you go. Also, Vanessa Beeley's in Syria. Damascus, I had her on the show a couple of times already. Just a few weeks ago, we did one on sanctions in Syria, right? And then also the elections. So yeah, she's also good. She's based in Damascus, right? So yeah, but I know my cousin is listening, so y'all gotta bug him, because I'm not succeeding with my endeavors. I'm not succeeding in them. Emblemed Fate, thank you again for your lovely support. Emblemed Fate says, last one for me. Read Neo-Colonialism, The Last Stage of Imperialism. Book by Kwame Nkrumah. You might enjoy it. Later, Rich. Have a good one. I can only recommend this further. And, the thing is that there's also another one by Rodney, right? How Europe underdeveloped Africa. This is also an excellent read. This is also crucial to understanding the imbalance in living standards, in resources, in capital, in finances, goods, you name it. This is the key to the imbalance. This is why we talk about in their colonial language, right? We talk about developed countries and underdeveloped countries. Yeah, but who made these countries underdeveloped? If you go back 1,000 years ago, right? If you go back to the 7th, 8th, 9th century, Europe was a fucking village. Europe was nothing, and it was the Arabs who were, the center of medical advancements, scientific advancements, mathematical advancements, everything, every scientific field, even public sewage, right? This was being advanced by the Arabs. So the problem here is not some difference in intellect. No, the problem here is a difference in resources and in abilities and in infrastructure that is a direct result of colonialism, of plundering, of imperialism, right? And that's I talk just as an example, the Arab countries. You can also find the exact same imbalance and the problem in Africa and in Latin America. Why? Because of colonialism. It's the same shit. They did this everywhere, right? And we're not done with that. We're still living with the consequences of it, and it's still ongoing. This is what's so crucial for people to understand. It's not just about, the military. This is, I'm telling you, down to public infrastructure. Everything is affected, right? So I want to cover, excuse me, we got some tips on PayPal that I forgot to read because I was caught up, right? I was off. Going off. So we got one over here from from Edward on CashApp. Thank you so much, Edward. It says, for Rumsfeld is scum. He's definitely a lizard. Love you, bro. Oh man, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah, Rumsfeld is definitely scum. I got no disagreements with you there. I despise Rumsfeld. I think it's a tough one. Like, if you got to look at the Bush administration and pick who you despise more. Right? It's a tough one. If you look at the Bush administration and you have to choose who you despise more than George Bush, I don't know. Is it Dick Cheney or is it Donald Rumsfeld? It's a really close one, man. I think most people would straight up go for Dick Cheney. Yeah, okay, fine. I mean, even back then, even during the Bush years, people would be like, yo, Dick Cheney is running the show. It's not Bush. Bush is he's not the one running the show. It's Dick Cheney. Yeah, okay. But Rumsfeld, yeah, he's close. He's a close second, man. He's a close second. I mean, that when a reporter asked him, because you remember Donald Rumsfeld, he was defense secretary, and I always got this mixed up because Colin Powell was actually in the military, right? He's a general, but he wasn't the defense secretary. He was actually the Secretary of State, and Donald Rumsfeld is the one who's defense secretary. I always got them mixed up, but now I know him. All right, now I know him. I'm talking about like 15 years, man. So there's a reporter asking him about the looting that's taking place in Baghdad, right? In Baghdad, in the capital of Iraq, after the invasion, because the Americans come in and surprise, they have no plan, right? So they not only lied about the weapons of mass destruction, along with the British, they lied and lied and lied. They come in, what do? Debathification. So they come in and they sign an order. I forgot his name now, Paul something, right? The colonial, he comes in, he lands like a colonial little bastard, and he declares the Ba'ath Party null and void. So the problem is, what you don't understand is in Iraq at the time, everyone is a member of the Ba'ath Party. You got teachers, I mean, anyone who's working in civil service, everyone is a member of the Ba'ath Party. So you got all these people now, right, who are out of a job and living under occupation. This is a recipe for disaster, right? So you have mass looting that starts taking place. And what are the Americans doing? They're guarding one building, the Ministry of Oil. Like, there's a picture of it. I've shown it to you before. You can't even make this up, man. You can't even make this up. The entire city is on fire. People are looting everything. And the only building that is actively being guarded by the U.S. military that just invaded Iraq is the Ministry of Oil. Like, they're not even hiding it. Do you see why it's such a... Do you see why it's so heartbreaking, but it's almost, it's so dark, it's comical in a way, right? And so, you know, this reporter asks Donald Rumsfeld about the looting, and he's like, yeah, democracy and freedom are messy, and people sometimes do messy things. And What? That's the kind of answer he gave, right? That's the kind of answer he gave. And people come along and think that Trump was an anomaly and he was unprecedented. No. They all talk like this. They all give these ridiculous answers. And even before the invasion, right? There's a reporter asking, well, how do you know Saddam has weapons of mass destruction, nuclear weapons, and he's giving them to Al-Qaeda? Like, do you have proof? And he's like, look, man, there are known knowns and there are unknown knowns. There are things we know, and the things we don't know. He just... Yeah, but that's not proof. Could you imagine arguing that in court? Did you see the defendant murder her? Look, man, there are known knowns and there are unknown knowns. You know, what? Yeah, you can just make a wild, outrageous allegation that the Iraqi government has weapons of mass destruction in 2003 when they don't. And that's the response. And people think Trump was an anomaly. No, he wasn't. And remember Bush, he lands on this aircraft carrier in May 2003, 2 months after the invasion. 2 months. 2 months. Iraq is still under occupation. We're in 2021. He lands on an aircraft carrier with a banner behind him that says mission accomplished. What? Yeah, that's it, apparently. According to them, they successfully completed their mission after 2 months. They hadn't even captured Saddam yet. Right. They hadn't even captured Saddam. I remember because they captured him in December. I remember the day that they captured him. I was walking into school on that day. Right. And this was the news. It's plastered everywhere. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we got him. And I got in trouble for not doing my English work. I was busy reading about the Iraq War. How fitting. But you see how ridiculous these people are, these disgusting warmongers. So yeah, it's a close second, man. Bush and then Cheney, Rumsfeld. And again, of course, it's a whole scourge of neocons, right? Paul Wolfowitz. Who else? Condoleezza Rice, Colin Powell, David Addington. Remember Cheney's lawyer. I mean, really, just the most vile creatures on earth. But that's what people don't understand, is that they're all like this. Biden, Trump, Obama, they're no different. They're all neocons. They all believe in this bullshit. That's what they are. So, you guys have been very kind. We got a super chat over here on PayPal from Daniel. Daniel, thank you very much. You are very kind. Forgive me 1 second because my PayPal is loading. And I'm trying to see what you have written in case there's a note. All right, let's go. This is from Ali. Daniel. Well, there's no note. It doesn't matter. Thank you very much, Daniel. I appreciate it nonetheless. You're very kind. Thank you very much. And I see we have many people who just signed up to support the show again on Rockfin and Patreon. So we got Kinky. Ooh. You guys are coming up with good names, huh? We got Mr. Lizard as well. And we got Sleiman. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, all of you. I'm going to play Crab Dance, and then we'll get to the next segment, so don't go anywhere. This Crab Dance is just for you. Everybody put your hands together for our new patrons.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line. Claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Why you texting? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Wow. I love you guys. Seriously, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for this success, for these opportunities that you have afforded me. Just some of you have been here from the beginning. Some of you have been here for a few minutes. Doesn't matter. I'm grateful for all your support. Thank you for supporting independent journalism. Thank you for supporting foreign journalists, right? So people with a foreign international perspective. I mean, thank you for supporting anti-imperialist media. This is so crucial. And I don't just say this for myself. I say for all who are doing such, right? So this is very crucial. Thank you so much. Wherever you're supporting, Patreon, PayPal, doesn't matter. Even if you comment and like the video or you share it, I'm grateful. So thank you very much. Let's go into the next segment. And just as I get the browser up, just as I get the document up, these are the links. I'm just going to put them up on the screen if you'll allow me. Okay? Wonderful. Okay, we're ready. So, oh boy. So, Iran has a new president-elect, Ibrahim Raisi. He's been voted Iran's next president. He won with 62% of the vote. And there are many things to say about this election, right? So, first of all, the coverage in the West is an abomination. I mean, this is to be expected, but it's all around. It's not just mainstream media. And, you know, I want to focus on some points. I just want to focus on some points that you will hear often when hearing about Iran that we need to debunk because they're unacceptable. They're simply not true. They're ridiculous. They're just factually nonsense. So, first of all, let's start off with the situation. Rouhani, the Iranian president, he's served 2 terms. Each term is 4 years. He can't run anymore. He's on his way out. That's it. Now, there are many difficulties for his presidency. The main one, the obvious one is the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal. Why? Because, well, he linked the economy to the JCPOA, right? The JCPOA only works, obviously, if everyone keeps their end of the deal. The Americans and Europeans didn't. And I'm not just talking about after Trump. Right? We'll get back to that. But he linked it to that. And, you know, after 2018, Trump leaves, it's game over. Even right now, Biden is in power. He still won't re-enter the JCPOA. So a new candidate, actually there are several hundred candidates, and they get narrowed down to 7 candidates, to just 7. And Ibrahim Raisi is one of them. And who is Raisi? He's the head of the judiciary. He's been the attorney general before that. You know, he's a very, very long career in public service, and specifically, you know, in law, in the judiciary. So let's debunk some of the talking points. The first thing that you will hear is hardliner. Okay, so they call Raisi a hardliner, and you hear this term often when what they mean is someone who's a principalist, you know, or a conservative. Now, these meanings don't have the same meanings that you think they do. If you are from Europe or you are American, it's not the same meanings that you think it has. So when they say hardliner, what are they talking about? I'm going to let Professor Marendi explain, right? Professor Marendi is a great friend of the show. He's a really, really cool guy. He's a really good friend. And I got a full interview coming up with him. Here he explains the term hardliner so you can understand what it actually means on my show on Press TV, right? So I'm gonna let him take it away. So, Professor, I wanted to start talking about the elections, the presidential elections in Iran. One term that we hear a lot is this hardliner in the media. Apparently, they don't like using the word principalist or conservative. They prefer to go with hardliner. What I wanted to ask you, what do they mean by that exactly? Is that just in regards to the United States, isn't it?
They don't consider Iranians to be hardliners towards Argentina or Nicaragua or Venezuela or South Africa or India or Pakistan or China. It's just when Iranian leaders stand up to the United States and say no to appeasement. That's where they become hardliners. And even the term conservative is somewhat misleading, because in Iran, those who are actually called conservatives, what they themselves call the principalists, they are culturally speaking more conservative. But with regards to economics, they are left-leaning. So it's very different from in Western countries, I think. In Iran, the reformists, the moderates, are more culturally liberal, especially the reformists, but economically speaking, they're also more liberal and supportive of free markets and capitalism and big business and that sort of thing.
Right. So right off the bat, huge difference from what the Western media has you believe, and a large differentiation there between what you think those terms mean in the West. Okay? So, and again, if you go and you look at all these articles in the press, right? BBC say, Iran's Ibrahim Raisi, the hardline cleric, set to become president. Everywhere they put this, right? Hardline. And when it comes to the turnout, so what the big critique about this election is the turnout, because it's historically low. So, Iran had its Islamic Revolution in 1979. They got rid of this puppet, the Shah, who was put in power by the British and the Americans in a coup in 1953 to take all their oil, and among other things. And they had the Islamic Revolution. And since then, this election, very, very low turnout. So the figures are around 48, 49%. I think those were the final ones. I think the one before that was 50%. And this is several presidencies before, right? But this is the lowest so far. And immediately, what do the West say, right? They say, oh, look, well, this is proof that, I think they asked Marendi, right? Professor Marendi, I think it was on BBC. They asked him, isn't that proof of a failure of establishment, right? Like as if, look, Iran is a failed state. It just doesn't work. No one cares to participate, right? It's either Iran has no democracy and people have no representation, or they do, but, it doesn't work properly. Those are the two default. That's the only way you can talk about Iran or Syria or whatever, other country that's targeted for regime change, right? So this is absurd. This is absurd because if you look at France, if you look at many Western European countries, they have had even lower turnout than that during presidential elections. Okay? So, and during legislative ones, it's even worse. So you can't win with them. And this has nothing to do with that. And then the other complaints, right? Low turnout, it has nothing to do with the results, because what they're not taking into account is that Raisi won 62% of the vote. That's a landslide victory. And the other thing is that you have Corona, you have sanctions. They never tell you about that. You watch any report about the elections in Iran, the elections in Venezuela, the elections in Syria. They never, ever, ever tell you that there are sanctions. They talk about, oh, look at this economic misery. Oh my God, look at all this distress that people are under, which is true. Yes, it's true. Why are they experiencing so much hardship? Why won't you say the word sanctions or even pussyfoot around it? They won't say it. They won't say it. It's astonishing how you can talk about a phenomenon so widespread, right, that is affecting everyone in society, and you do not mention the key cause, the main cause, sanctions. Economic sanctions imposed on Iran by the United States and their European allies on the banking sector, the oil sector. Why don't you say that? So they don't tell you that there's coronavirus, which of course, results in lower numbers. And they don't tell you about the sanctions, which have also, dude, literally in Venezuela, for example, people have no gas to go vote. How do you expect them to vote if they can't even get to the voting station, to the polling station? Because they have no gas because of sanctions. Like, what do you want them to fucking fly? You want them to sprout wings and go to the polling station? This is absurd. So they never talk about this with, just in real terms, in context, ever. They just take whatever information is available. They give you half of it and then say, oh, look, this is proof of such and such, which fits our Western narrative. And, in Europe, the average turnout is 50 to 60%. 48% is not that far off behind, especially when it's during a global pandemic and under sanctions. It's nothing out of the ordinary, even though it is historically low. And once again, Raisi got 62% of the vote. And people say here, well, look, man, clearly it's unfair because the Guardian Council chose candidates that would ensure a victory for Raisi. That's what they say. And again, here we have a problem because a lot of people don't know the difference between the Guardian Council and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. These are two completely different things that have nothing to do with each other at all. At all. The IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, this is Iran's elite military force. Again, the Quds force that we were talking about, which was headed by Qasem Soleimani. That is a branch. It's one of the branches of the IRGC. They have nothing to do with the elections. They don't select the candidates. They have nothing. You have to understand something. They have no affiliation or preference or anything with the elections or the candidates. That's number one. Now, when it comes to number two, the Guardian Council, which is the body of legislators, of jurists, right? So you have it's a 12 person body. And they are tasked with, making sure that laws passed by the Majlis, by the Iranian parliament, comply with the constitution of the Islamic Republic, right? That it complies with, with Islamic law. It has to be their responsibility to vet the candidates and say whether they are suitable to run or not. That's what it is, right? So they perform these tasks. That's the Guardian Council, not the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. How can you mix these up and then cover Iran? Like, this is like mixing up the Marine Corps and the U.S. Senate. What the fuck are you doing? How can you mix up the Marine Corps and the U.S. Senate? Again, it's not a perfect analogy. The IRGC is not akin to the Marine Corps. It's just an example, right? But it illustrates how ridiculous such a mix-up is. Regardless, they're saying that, the Guardian Council, well, they selected the candidates and they made sure that they guarantee that Raisi win. And here comes the funny part. Because we have a paradox. As usual, when you look at Western propaganda, whether it's repeated by leftists, yes, American leftists, who have, I'm going to put it diplomatically, they have a long way to go. Let's say that. Or whether it's put by the mainstream media. What do they say? They say that, look, the elections are rigged. The elections are rigged because the Guardian Council, they ultimately decide who gets to run for president. And they always choose someone who's okay with the establishment. And then at the same time, what do they tell you? They say, oh my God, look, here comes a hardline president. And this is not good because he's a hardliner, whatever that means, right? he basically, it's colonial language. It means someone who doesn't cozy up to the West, who isn't, So how does that work? How are the elections rigged, but you're worried about having a hardline president? If the elections are rigged, every president should be the same, according to you, because they're all the same and they're all in favor of the establishment. No, of course, this doesn't matter, right? This doesn't matter because, again, Western propaganda, this colonial language, is based off of the premise that we, the white people, we in the West, we have elections, we have democracy, we have working institutions, we have representation, but everyone else doesn't. They're backwards because they're not like us. This is the Western mentality. This is the brainwashing. This is the disgusting racism that even many on the so-called left have internalized. You would expect better from them, but no, unfortunately, it's not there. They've internalized this because they've been brainwashed since they've been little that, oh, yeah, we have a democracy. Yeah, it's not perfect, but we still have a democracy. But they don't. No one else does. No one else has representation. We are the best. We are the only ones who know how to do things, who know how to run institutions and public institutions. Yeah. So the other thing that you hear is about the JCPOA. Again, this is a very big issue. This is a hot topic. Some say, and again, it's not far-fetched that the JCPOA is what caused the well, again, Rouhani couldn't run again, but the so-called moderates' demise, right? I mean, the moderates. When we talk about moderates, again, Professor Marandi explained the difference quite well between principalists, or as they say, hardliners, and moderates. It's not the same as you think it is in the West. They someone like Raisi, who is a quote unquote hardliner, a principalist, he actually has economic policies that are left-leaning, that are populist, right? So when we say he's a conservative or a principalist, it doesn't have the same meaning as a conservative in the United States or the UK. So get that straight, first of all. Now, when it comes to the JCPOA, is he against it? Yes. I mean, he has said things against it, but he's not against the agreement. He is not going to pull out of the deal. He is not against Iran being in the deal. What he wants is the United States to hold up their end. And then Iran will consider coming back into full compliance with things. So no, he's not against the nuclear deal. He has expressed, I'm trying to put this diplomatically. He's expressed concerns about the fact that it doesn't work. Why? Because the West don't hold up their end of the deal. This is what the Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, this is what he said. Don't trust the Americans. And he gave Rouhani the opportunity to go and try the JCPOA, but he warned him, don't trust the Americans. They won't follow through on their end. Lo and behold, they didn't follow through. They didn't follow through. And someone like Raisi is an anti-imperialist, right? A staunch anti-imperialist. He understands that you can't make a deal with the devil, right? You can't trust a wolf. And he's not interested in hinging everything, his entire presidency, running the government, running Iran, on whether the asshole sitting in the White House is in the mood to adhere to an international agreement, to a treaty that they signed. Well, it's not a treaty. It's just a bilateral, multilateral agreement, right? So he's not going to go down the same path as Rouhani. He's not going to hinge the entire economy and the presidency on the JCPOA and just wait for Joe Biden to come back into it. No, he's going to be more, I asked this in a very simplistic manner to Professor Marandi. You'll see in the full interview when it's uploaded. I asked him, so is he leaning more towards the East, can we say, right? Towards China, towards Russia, etc. Yes, in many ways. But then again, Iran is in general. But my point here is that you'll have some people say, like, oh my God, he's totally against diplomacy. He can't be reasoned with. Oh my God. No, this is nonsense. This is complete nonsense. If the United States enters the JCPOA, re-enters the JCPOA, and holds up their end of the deal, so will Iran, right? And again, even when you hear about Iran breaching the agreement, that's not true. Article 36, 37 of the JCPOA, they have the right, if the U.S. reimposes sanctions and doesn't follow the deal, Iran has the right to consider that as non-compliance and do what they've been doing. So it's a very complicated issue, but no, he's not against the JCPOA in the way that the Western media wants you to think. No. Now, the thing is that another thing that you hear is that, well, this is all Trump's fault. And again, this is a funny way of saying things because it's like saying, Iranians don't vote their conscience and they don't actually vote the way they want to. They just, the way they vote depends on what's happening in America. What? No. Yeah, I mean, yes, Trump is a lunatic. Trump is no different, though, from every other president, from any other U.S. president. He just has no filter, but he's the same as every other U.S. president. Okay? So Trump was not an anomaly. Iran has been targeted for a long time by the West. We were just talking about 1953, the Prime Minister Mossadegh, he wants to nationalize the oil. What do the British and the Americans do? They coup him, right? The CIA has admitted to it. The British still haven't, right? They couped him. And who did they put in power? The Shah. Why? Because he likes the West. He normalizes ties with Israel, He lets the British have their oil, etc. So this goes back a long way, this meddling, literally coupping the leadership in Iran and trying to control this country, okay? So people in Iran are very aware of their history. They understand what the West is. They understand what the nature of the West is vis-a-vis to their interests and their independence, their freedom, their economy. They know what's going to happen. And in 1979, they have the revolution. They get rid of this puppet. They get rid of this Western puppet, right? So to say that it's just Trump who has, soured relations with Iran, this is not true. This is a long time from Britain, from the U.S. Do you understand? Every U.S. president in modern history has soured relations with Iran. It's not just Trump. So don't think that people just voted for AC because of Trump. No, there are other factors involved. It's not. This is too simplistic. But again, I asked Professor Merendi about the things that the Rouhani administration could have done differently, and we talked about this. It's a very good conversation. But to say that, basically Trump was the only reason that I say, well, no, this is not how that works. And you must understand something, that if you are going to make that conclusion that it's because of Trump, what are you basing that off of? You're basing that off of his policies towards Iran, right? Like killing General Soleimani, the sanctions, attacking the axis of resistance. Okay, well, how is Biden any different? Biden just bombed Syria and Iraq again in the name of targeting Iranian militias. He's talking about the PMU, the Hashd al-Shabi. He bombed Syria in February, also claiming to target Iran. He has sold off Iran's oil, just like Trump, right? He has sent the nuclear bombers and the U.S. fleet in a show of force against Iranians, just like Trump. He has still not lifted these sanctions that Trump put on Iran. I know firsthand because my TV program on Press TV, along with everyone else's work on Press TV, was just taken down by Biden using Trump's sanctions. So please explain to me, if Iran voted for Raisi because of Trump, only because of Trump, I mean, surely you have to see that Biden is the same, right? Trump is not an anomaly. He's not an anomaly. Perhaps only in the sense that he speaks openly about what the U.S. is. Yes, perhaps in that case. And you have to understand something, that even though Biden says he wants to go back into the JCPOA, he hasn't done it yet. And people think that it's Trump who started down the wrong road with the JCPOA. It wasn't really. Even before Trump got into office, the Europeans, the EU, and the Americans were not following the JCPOA completely. They were already violating it before. But what Trump did, of course, was a step further. He completely pulled out. That's definitely a different, that's definitely taking things further. What has Biden done about that? But you see, I just want you to understand that the U.S. was not implementing it in full. And same thing from Europe, right? If the Europeans, instead of siding with Iran, because Iran has complied with the deal all along the way since the beginning, they have decided to give the U.S. a pass in many ways, right? Because the U.S. can decide to unilaterally impose sanctions on Iran. It doesn't mean the Europeans have to enable them, but they have. They have in many ways. Even at the IAEA, at the International Atomic Energy Agency, they've tried to condemn Iran and so on. We know what team they're playing on, the Europeans. So my point here, I just want to wrap up with saying that election coverage on a non-Western country, always be careful. Really be careful, man. Because mainstream media is going to give you complete, utter nonsense and rubbish, right? They can't even talk about the candidates properly. They can't even give you a proper breakdown of who they are. They use these terms, hardliner and stuff. Yeah, because basically anyone who doesn't bend the knee to U.S. and Western imperialism is a hardliner, right? Like we said, it's not towards Nigeria, it's not towards Argentina, it's not towards South Africa that they're hardliners. It's the West. And why is that? You know why, because we just went through the history of coups, of sanctions, of war. We know why. Never mind, and we haven't even touched on Israel, right? Which is also a big issue. But don't trust the Western coverage, because when they talk about economic suffering in Syria, in Iran, in Venezuela, they don't even tell you the root cause of this suffering. They try to make it seem as if the current government is responsible for that. Like, they don't even make good critiques. Like, if you actually wanted to have valid critiques, you could really find them. But they don't. Instead, they make up shit about nuclear weapons. They make up shit about chemical weapons. They make stuff up about, economic problems that are actually caused by the West. These are not real. These are things to manufacture consent. These are like red lines. you know, to make you shut up when they start bombing whatever country it is, right? So you acquiesce. So you're like, oh, well, you know, they use chemical weapons. And again, there are still people who talk about Iran as if Iran has a nuclear weapons program. For the love of God, a nuclear program is not a nuclear weapons program. Those are two completely different motherfucking things. For the love of God, how are you covering politics and you don't know this? How on earth are you covering Iran and you don't know this? Yes, you need a nuclear program to get a nuclear weapons program. But Iran doesn't have one. You know why? Because Iran has the strictest verification program in the world. If you want to be sure which country does not have a nuke, it's Iran. Their IAEA inspectors can go to any facility they want. They have the 24/7 cameras. They have the special seals. And that was until February. Remember the Majlis, the Iranian parliament, they passed a law. They said if there's no sanctions relief by February, the additional protocol is over. And then the Director General of the IAEA, Grossi, he flew immediately to Tehran. He struck up a new deal, an extension for 1 month. For 3 months, which finished in May. And then when May came, another extension for 1 month. So, I mean, not only have the Iranians been complying with the deal, they've tried everything to save that thing. Everything. I mean, that's diplomacy. What have Trump and Biden done? It's disgusting. So anyway, Iran does not have a nuclear weapons program. This is ridiculous. This is nonsense. So stop with this. Don't seriously, stop. I can't believe people are still saying this. This is ridiculous. And if you don't believe the IAEA, right, just use your common sense. You know they don't have one because there ain't no bombs that have been dropped yet, right? So anyway, just to wrap up, please, be wary of the coverage. And I think over here on Twitter. So I was very humbled by this, right? I was very humbled by this. I had a little comment here from Sure about my episode. Says, quit all the misinfo out there and hear it from a reliable source. A must-watch on Iran election 2021. So that is extremely humbling. You know, when Iranians are telling you that your coverage is good, you know your coverage is good. So that's very humbling. Thank you very much. I'm really grateful to hear that. So that's my episode on Press TV. You can go watch the full thing. Again, Uncle Sam took down the original website, so now it's presstv.ir, right? The communique with Richard Medhurst. And the full interview with Merendi will be up soon. And we'll really go in depth into the election and to, what's happening in Iran. Really, you won't get this anywhere else. I'm very proud and humbled and grateful to say that. And Merendi he's really the best. So stay tuned for that. All right. Let me just see if you guys have been sending any more comments. I want to make sure I read them all. You guys are extremely generous and kind, and I'm grateful to have you. So 1 second. We got over here a tip from Ross. Ross, thank you very much. Ross sent this tip on PayPal. And Ross says, well, it doesn't say anything. I don't know if PayPal is bugging or what's going on. Hold on. I'm going to try and read it again, man. It doesn't say anything for some reason. But Nicholas sent one. And Nicholas says, going back to Pan-Africanism, have you watched Thomas Sankara's speech on colonial debt? Despite being from 1987, it's quite relevant today. Here's a link to the first part. Sankara is a true hero, never really gets discussed properly. So hold on, I'm actually going to try and play it up on the screen if I can. I've not watched this one. No, I'm afraid not, but I'm so grateful that you've sent this to me. So thank you very much. Thank you, Nicholas. You're very kind. And just let me try and play this on the screen for everyone. I'm just trying to copy it. I'm not sure how I can do that from here, but give me a second. I think there was something from Ross, but it's not showing, so I'm very sorry about that. We got a comment over here from. Oh wow, okay, this is on Rockfin. This is from. Give me a second, man. I'm trying to refresh. Also, I'm laughing. I'm pausing and laughing because some of you are like, "Yo, Richie's cousin, come back on the show." Oh man, I can't count the number of times I've been nagging his ass to come back, like for real. So we got one over here from Kristen. Kristen, thank you very much for your tip. I'm very grateful. There's no comment, but nonetheless, very much appreciated. Mal Bill says, Richard, your program is so important to me. Getting a perspective outside of the U.S. propaganda machine can be difficult. Cheers. Well, I'm humbled. What can I say? These are the comments I live for. So thank you very much. That's very, very, very humbling. And that's the best praise you can get, right? So merci beaucoup. I'm really grateful for that. And by the way, if you will just allow me 1 second, I'm going to go into my YouTube thing because they've been hiding your stuff, your super chats. 1 second. Over here. Here we go. So, guys, Claudia has just informed me. This is amazing. We are at 386 patrons. That means we are 14 members away from hitting our goal. 14, man. 14. That is insane. I knew I could count on you guys. We're 14 members away. So that's patreon.com/RichardMedhurst. Thank you so much, all of you, for supporting anti-imperialist journalism, independent journalism. This is the spot. Like I said, I think I should start plugging the show according to what Uncle Sam called it, right? An unusual and extraordinary threat to U.S. imperialism, obviously. So this is the spot. This is where you want to be. If you want to support, if you want to support an unusual and extraordinary threat, this is it, man. I got to use the line. It's really good. So you guys are very, very generous, and I'm very, very grateful. We've got a tip over here from Rob. Says, you are the man. No, Rob, you are. You guys are really sweet. Thank you very much. Gain of Fauci says, approaching Julian Assange's birthday. Let's crab dance for that. Yes, July 3rd. All right. So I have a lot of important stuff on Assange coming very soon. So you obviously know this is the spot. All right. I covered his extradition hearing. God, I mean, that case in of itself, if you ever needed proof that there was no justice in the US or the UK or Sweden, you know, because you have multiple governments that have been working together to screw him. It's really incredible. You know, what a conspiracy if there ever was one. So yeah, there's a lot to say about that. A lot to say. And yeah, Julian's birthday is soon, so we're gonna definitely crab dance for that. And definitely write to him if you can. You can write to him. I don't know how quick or whatever it gets there, but I know many people who have done so. It's possible. So definitely write to him if you can. I'm sure he would appreciate it and appreciate your support. Definitely. Okay, so with that said, guys, before I go, this is your reminder to go subscribe to the newsletter, so we're not dependent just on YouTube. We don't have all our eggs in one basket. It's a contingency plan. So richardmedhurst.substack.com. I publish articles there, and of course, it's our newsletter. So it's very important. Doesn't cost you a penny, and that way we can always make sure you get notifications for the live streams. And in case anything happens, we're still connected. And other than that, definitely make an account on Rockfin. ROKFIN.com/RichardMedhurst. Again, it's totally free, and all the live streams are there. So right now we're live streaming on YouTube and Rockfin at the same time. All of the videos are there, all of the coverage, right? All of the segments. It's the same as YouTube. No censorship. It's free. And if you want to support, it's $10 a month, and you would be supporting everyone on Rockfin. So that's most of your favorite lefty channels. They're already on there. Just take a look. And other than that, the Patreon, I have a new URL for that now. It's patreon.com/RichardMedhurst. Thank you to everyone who's supporting on there. We're almost at our goal of 400. Check this out, right? Check this out. 386. 14 members to go. 14 members to go. That's amazing. So thank you to all who's supporting on Patreon. And there are also ways you can donate on CashApp, Venmo, and PayPal. right? And again, I'm going to say this. I'm going to keep saying this forever. According to the Biden administration, this right here, man, this is an unusual and extraordinary threat. What does that say? What does that say about one's work? All right, I'm going to stop. I'm overdoing it now. But yeah, anyway, I'm very grateful for your support. Thanks so much for your comments. And yeah, that's it. I don't know what else to say, man. I think we said everything that needs to be said. Oh, one more comment over here. Wait, I forgot to finish the plug. Wait, there's one more. There we go. So, yeah, thanks for supporting independent journalism. Thanks for supporting independent journalism, anti-imperialist journalism. This is the spot, as always. Thank you so much. All the links are below, by the way. Get your Uncle Joe's Rainbow Coalition Death Cults t-shirt, right? He just bombed Syria. We're releasing the t-shirt again. we should just drop t-shirts like coinciding with what countries Biden decides to bomb. Unfortunately, there will be a lot of t-shirts dropping. No, but seriously, anyway, DC has dropped a super chat. Thank you very much, DC. It says, yo, I checked out your music the other day. Dope stuff. You should collab with rapper Niko. Nico House, that's him? Hey, shit, I didn't know he did music as well. That's good. And I'm very grateful that you checked out the album, right? Because this is the thing, man. I haven't done music in a while, right? So, I spent years studying production, sound engineering, all this stuff. And we put out the album, the Riverline album. And then a few months later, like, this is what's crazy. Check this out, man. Like, June 2019, we finished the album, and then just over a year later, in September 2020, I'm like covering the Assange hearing. Like, that is crazy. That is really crazy. And September 2020, I already got a show on Press TV. Like that, I'm really blessed, man. Alhamdulillah, really. Every single day I thank God, and I thank you guys for your support. So anyway, I haven't done music in a long time. I miss it very much. I haven't been able to do anything, and I want to go back to that very soon. I miss it a lot, right? Everything, playing piano, guitars, composing, arrangement, all of it. It was really fun. So thank you, DC. I appreciate that very much. Thank you for your comment. Very, very nice of you. So anyway, guys, I'll catch you later. Thanks for supporting the show. All the links are below. As always, I'm trying to think of something. Fuck Joe Biden. and yeah, I'll see you next time. Ma'as salame. Bye-bye.